Welcome to the Detroit Executive Forum presented by Michigan State University's Broad College of Business and the College of Engineering. My name is Marcy Stoll, Assistant Director of Executive Development at MSU. Today, we're offering you a discussion on the role of artificial intelligence in a world that is undergoing significant transformation. Dr. Sanjay Gupta and Spartan alumnus Manoj Saxena will share their experience and insights with you. After their 40-minute discussion, I will share your questions with them. Please use the Q&A feature in Zoom to submit your questions throughout this presentation. I will share as many questions as time allows with Dr. Gupta and Manoj. And now I would like to welcome Dr. Gupta, the Eli and Edith L. Broad Dean of Michigan State University's Eli Broad College of Business, where he has held a number of key leadership positions since 2007, including Chairperson of the Accounting and Information Systems Department, Associate Dean for MBA programs, and now serving in his second term as Dean. We are grateful for your leadership and welcome you to this forum, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Marcy, and welcome to our first ever virtual Detroit Executive Forum. I want to welcome all of our alumni, our students, our corporate partners, all of our supporters for MSU that have been with us and that are actually scattered throughout the globe. We are so pleased to be able to provide you with relevant information, and this has been ongoing for 50 plus years. The Detroit Executive Forum was founded along with the establishment of our executive MBA program in the Detroit area. And every year since then, we have been able to feature you phenomenal discussions on very relevant topics. And today is no exception. I am so delighted that we'll be able to talk about navigating the new normal with AI. I want to first and foremost thank our sponsors and the Detroit Executive Forum Board for all of your support, all of the hard work that goes in to getting us to this day each year. Thank you very much for that. And now it is my true pleasure to be able to welcome Manoj Saxena. I have known Manoj for some time now, but just talking about him will get you to understand very quickly as to the remarkable accomplishments that he has undertaken, that he has successfully led. Today, Manoj is the executive chairman of Cognitive Scale. It is an enterprise AI software company. He's also the founding chairman of AI Global, which is a nonprofit dedicated to ethical and responsible adoption of AI. Previously, Manoj served as the first general manager of IBM Watson, where his team built the first cognitive systems. Prior to IBM, Mr. Saxena was the founder and CEO of two venture-backed software companies, which were acquired within a 5-year span. Until recently, he has served as chairman of the board of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, San Antonio, and he also serves as a member of the London Stock Exchange Technology Advisory Board. During his fun time and spare time, he teaches a course in design of ethical artificial intelligence at the University of Texas, Austin. But even more than that, he's an avid auto racing enthusiast, and he's completed over 30,000 miles in track, endurance, and auto rally races around the world. And I'm going to have to read off these cars that he's used to do that. This 1934 Alvis Speed 20. I have never seen that one. A 1972 Datsun 240Z and a 2009 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. That's for fun. But here's what I think is so very important about Manoj, and that is he has a MBA from the Eli Broad College of Business at Michigan State University. He also holds degrees from the Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani in India. I'm sure just that gives you the idea of what a great individual we are going to be able to spend the next hour with, to delve into a topic that is probably one of the hottest topics on everybody's mind. and that is AI. We plan to explore a variety of topics. We'll talk about the importance of AI, the impact of COVID and its surroundings and circumstances on AI. Manoj is particularly passionate about responsible AI, and we'll delve into the ethics and trust of AI. We also want to talk about the impact of AI on higher education, and we'll then take your questions. So let me first set the stage and get some terminology, Manoj. Let's begin with some basic definitions. What is AI? What is not AI? Why is AI important? And this word artificial in AI, it's always mind-boggling to me. So help us unravel some of these things and kind of set the stage.
Thank you, Dean Gupta, again, and thank you for that very kind introduction. Really means a lot, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. And in terms of starting with the basics, AI, in very simple terms, to me is about non-biological intelligence. This is the very first time in history that we are beginning to see intelligence that is not based in an organic shell, and it's a semiconductor-based, non-biological intelligence. Now, and you're absolutely right, the term artificial and artificial intelligence can actually throw a lot of people off, and it's actually a pretty poor term. I actually say that AI today means amazing innovations. AI today also means artificially inflated. And I think there's both going on, but I think the CEO of Google said it really well, that AI is as foundational to humanity as fire and electricity is. And I think he's not that far off the mark. So in a very simple terms, AI is around building machines that have intelligence in it that learns from patterns. And there are broadly three types of AI. There is automated AI, augmented AI, and autonomous AI. Automated AI is any task that a human brain can do in 3 to 5 seconds or less, and AI today can do it. AI today can read images with higher accuracy than a human brain can. AI today can read text in a more accurate way than human beings can, and so on and so forth. So any job that the human brain can do in 3 seconds or less that involves structured and unstructured data, most jobs, and AI can do that. So that's the first class, which is automated, and it's also called robotic process automation. But that's only about 10% of the opportunity. So that's one end of it. The other end of AI is autonomous AI. These are self-driven systems. So obviously the self-driving cars, the self-flying drone, those are obvious things, but that's also, I think, less than 5% of the opportunity. I'm talking about the next 5 to 20 years. And the bulk of the opportunity, I believe, is in the augmented AI, the middle category, which is how you use AI to amplify our decision-making process and our capabilities. And I call it, giving every human being their own personal Jarvis suit, having a Iron Man Jarvis suit for a nurse who's taking care of diabetes patient, for a bank teller, for a cardiologist, and so on and so forth. So I think truly we are looking at this new class of intelligence that will transform how we work and how we live. And that's kind of the foundational definition. Non-biological intelligence, that's of three types: automated, augmented, and autonomous.
I'm going to shift to what's going on right now with the pandemic, and let's really think about the role of AI in this context, simply because this is clearly something that has never happened before, that we've never experienced before, and everybody is being impacted by this.
Yeah.
Can you comment on what is the role of AI in this pandemic situation?
Yeah.
And what is it that AI might be able to do that we might not have been able to do on our own?
So I think, again, one of the things with AI is there's a lot of potential, but there's a lot of hard work to realize the value. But in the immediate term, like right now, the role of AI has been quite minimal, actually. The press and the hype far exceeds what AI is actually doing for the pandemic now. However, in the next few months, and definitely in the next couple of years, AI is going to take on a much bigger and bigger role as we come through this pandemic, or for that matter, future pandemics. And I kind of look at how we are changing into these 3 stages of COVID. I call it respond, renew, and reimagine. So what we have been doing for the last 6 to 7 months has been responding to AI, to COVID. And AI has some value and some role in it in terms of generating signals from data, looking at patterns as to where will hospital beds likely to run out of space and those kinds of things. So those are still, I would call it just the tip of the iceberg of what it can do. So that's the first phase of respond to COVID. Renewal of a business and renewal of growth and renewal of society, which in my mind is the stage we are about to enter, and that will take over the next year to 2 years. That's where I think we will start seeing more and more use of AI, because what I'm seeing in the market is customers are fundamentally changing their operating model because of this pandemic. They are having to digitize systems more to serve distressed customers faster. So whether you're a healthcare company or you're a bank or insurance company, digital has become an imperative to start serving your customers. So one, we're seeing more digitization. Two, we're seeing more remote work, remote collaboration like this one. And three, we are also beginning to see on-demand workers being pulled into a supply chain, into a virtual supply chain. And AI, I believe, when you start remodeling and restructuring your business around more digital, more virtual, and more remote work that can be pulled in and out, AI is going to, I think, serve as an accelerator for that new business model. And I think the best is yet to come. We are still very early, but from every sign, I mean, people are shifting more and more budgets in IT towards digital and automation and AI.
So Manoj, we are here in Detroit, Michigan. This is the motor city, so we are always thinking certainly about the auto sector. Not the only thing that is on our minds, but that is really quite important. Can you talk about what you just described in what's going on right now, but also in the post-COVID world, as it might apply to the auto sector, the auto companies, auto suppliers? I mean, we have a whole ecosystem around the automotive sector here.
No, absolutely. I think this is an industry, again, like all industries, and particularly automotive, is going to be fundamentally transformed by both COVID and AI. And I'm going to answer it from two different sort of vectors. The first part is types of AIs, and then second is more around the location of where AI is going to be applied. So if you look at the whole automated, augmented, and autonomous, in automotive, clearly around factory floor. I mean, we're already seeing things like welding and painting and all those kinds of things. Those are all driven by images and audio and location. So AI is already fairly well established on that side. And the augmented side, I think being able to help customers, match customers, either with buying a car or being able to personalize an offer or a service call or a support call to a customer. So things like OnStar and others that people have done, where the car starts connecting to the condition of what the person is going through and starts engaging an ecosystem of service providers or dealers and others. So the whole world is going to start becoming a lot more dynamic. And I call it as shifting the focus from a browser to the human being becoming the cursor. So today, if you look at how we engage with the world digitally, we look at this little jewel box called my phone or my browser, and I go looking for information. With AI, we're going to flip the model where your location, your voice, and your identity becomes the cursor, and the world becomes your browser. The other day I had a problem with my car, and the process that I went through in order to identify it, I had to get the tow truck out there, I had to get my dealer ready. All of these things took me to initiate. Why is it that based on one trigger, why is it that my car manufacturer was not able to orchestrate all the parts of the service and supply chain to start meeting my needs? And I think that's where there is a tremendous amount of opportunity for transforming the automotive sector that we see it. And then last but not the least, in operations, I mean, there's a lot of talk about autonomous vehicles and autonomous driving. I think some of those expectations, at least for me, I think are a little too optimistic. But make no mistake, I think things like adaptive cruise controls, things like lane warning, all the stuff that all the modern cars we take for granted, those are all AI systems. And I think, long distance trucking and stuff like that, I love this feature of an adaptive cruise control that I have in my car. Much as I like racing cars, There are times I just want the car to just drive and keep a certain distance. So I think from a product innovation point of view, there is going to be a tremendous amount of potential. I look at it, I love jazz, and I look at what AI is going to do for the automotive industry as similar to what the electronic keyboard and the synthesizer did for the jazz industry back in the 50s, right? So before that, if you were a beautiful, jazz musician, you had to get a lot of instruments together, you could get a lot of people together, then only you could create great music. The synthesizer allowed the jazz musician to exponentially improve the creativity by able to now orchestrate other, ancillary stuff around the core creation that the jazz musician was able to do. And I believe that for our students and for our alumni who are in all these leading companies, AI is their new synthesizer. What is missing and what will be required, I think, is creativity and imagination as to how I can put AI to work. And beyond just the basic automation, how do I bring creativity, and how do I bring new levels of service, new levels of product innovation to market? So I think, probably outside of healthcare, financial services, which I believe are going to be fundamentally transformed with AI, I believe automotive is ripe for transformation from AI. Whether it's product development, whether it's customer service, whether it is design, or whether it is even alliances with other application providers and payment providers and stuff like that. Why is it that I have to pull out my wallet if I walk through a McDonald's? Why is it that my car cannot communicate to the McDonald's thing? And why is it that my heads-up display doesn't come up with the bill and I say approve and it gets done? So this intersection of new service and commerce models, I think, is where the next level of innovation with AI is about to happen.
And do you see that as the potential revenue source or a business model? Because I'm trying to think about, as you described this, who will pay for this, right?
Yeah.
Who will pay for this service? I mean, I, as an individual, as a consumer, I own an automobile. So would I be signing up for like these subscription services, Netflix and all that added to my, car purchase?
I think it's two levels. I think at one level, you'll have to keep improving your product, much like we have done. I mean, if you look at a car today versus from 20 years ago, the majority of the cost in a car is electronics and software. A car has more lines of code than Facebook has. I don't know if people know that. Mm-hmm. The number of lines of codes far exceed what Facebook application has as lines of code. A car, in essence, is a rolling data center, and the amount of intelligence that's in that vehicle is only going exponentially. So I think from a business model perspective, there are two parts to it. One is how you build and innovate on top of that digital experience platform called a car. And then second part is how do you drive efficiencies out of that platform? So everything from how you design cars and how you produce cars and how you ship cars and how you lease cars. So there is a foundational piece of innovation around driving more efficiency. And then there is a piece of adding new value-added services on top of your car for which people will be willing to pay extra money for. I'll give you an example. So when I talk to CEOs, and last year I must have done close to 40 keynotes and engagement with boards and CEOs, all on the topic of demystifying AI in a business model level. And I talk about, I suggest to them that they should make their investments in AI in three buckets. Bucket number one is efficiency. So how do you use AI to take cost out of the system? Okay. Mm-hmm. Bucket number two is innovation. How do you use AI to come up with new experiences for your employees, your dealers, your end customers, and your partners? And then bucket number three is what I call as moonshots. These are things that have less than 10% of chance of a success, but if they do, they could fundamentally revolutionize the automotive industry. My proposal to them was, it's not one thing. It's like, how do you make bets across driving efficiency that gives you quick cost benefits, across innovation that gives you, additional market advantage, and then across transformation, which is maybe you have 1 out of 10 chance of something succeeding, but if it does, it gives you a 100x return. And you could fundamentally change the game in the automotive industry.
So this is really, truly fascinating. And I like your way of thinking about future investments as being bucketed into these three categories. And this could pretty much apply to any sector of the economy. It would seem like, to imagine where you put your bets. With the automotive sector, clearly one of the things that we are talking about a lot is how much control have we ceded to the car, how much information is being collected about us from the car, but this goes on across the board as well, which gets to people starting to wonder about this black box society. And in cognitive scale, you talk about that term often, this black box society, where the potential of these secret algorithms, not only sort of controlling our monies or our health, but literally our entire life, right? And people are really skittish about saying, what is this going to be, and where does the system begin and my own decision-making stop?
Yeah.
Can you talk about this notion of responsible AI, and what does it mean for us to make sure that there isn't this rogue AI at work, so that people just walk away from that or go back to basics and say, I don't want to have anything to do with this material world.
Stephen Hawking called AI, before he died, he called AI as man's last biggest innovation. Okay, humanity's last innovation, he called it. This is a topic I can spend, 2 hours or a whole day. I'm teaching a course on this thing, is because this is the essence of the question that we need to understand and the problem that we need to solve. And I'm very delighted that you and the Broad School are taking a leadership position in approaching responsible and ethical AI as a business issue, not as a technical issue. Before I describe what it is, I continue to believe that we are looking and teaching AI through the wrong end of the pipe. We are treating and teaching AI as a set of data and models. And it's like looking at human beings as rows and columns of numbers. But there's nothing artificial about AI. It is real. It is going to impact your life. It is going to impact everyone on this planet. And, it's incredibly important for us to understand how it makes decisions. Because what's happening is we're moving to a world where more and more of the decisions are being delegated to machines. Everything from when you wake up, what music you listen to, what news you listen to, who you date, where you go to school, what loan you get, everything about our life is being, decided by these invisible algorithms. And I continue to believe that this algorithmic justice is something that's going to become a bigger and bigger topic, because most of these AI systems have a very, dark secret about them, that they operate as black boxes, that you cannot look inside the mind of an AI. You cannot ask the AI to explain itself as to why did you deny that loan to this person versus that person. And there was an article in New York Times last year that said that a black family of four making $150,000 was getting the same amount of credit from banks as a white family of four making $45,000. Okay, and when you go and ask the banks as to why is it that your algorithm is discriminating, they say, well, that's my proprietary IP and I can't really tell you how it works. But trust us, it is not discriminating. So my biggest worry is the stuff that we need to worry about are these invisible algorithms that are actually dividing us as a society in ways that most of us don't know. It's impacting our finance, impacting our healthcare, it's impacting our education. It's impacting who you meet, like I said, who you have kids with. And this topic of, I call it trust as a service, is incredibly important for the digital world. And to put this in context, internet, when it came about, businesses were not ready to adopt the internet because they didn't have security as a service. They didn't know how to take a transaction on a credit card on the web because they could not trust who was on the other side of the end of it and what it was a stolen credit card. So security as a service enabled enterprise adoption of the internet. And I believe trust as a service is what will enable enterprise adoption of AI. And the reason is this, and the reason is today everything you read about AI, Pricewaterhouse says that $12 trillion worth of economic growth will happen because of AI in the next decade. And if you read and understand where AI is going, it's mostly B2C, things like detecting cats and dogs and playing video games. It's one thing to say, okay, using my DNN or a CNN algorithm, that's a dog or a cat. It's another thing to say, using my AI, I denied that claim and the patient died and I'm being sued for $40 million by the family, and I cannot explain to the jury why my AI did what it did. So, and it doesn't even have to be machine learning. A lot of advanced statistical models, a lot of rules-based systems are operating as black boxes today. So one of the things that we're going to start seeing more and more of is as our lives go more online and go more digital, as more algorithms start making decisions about us, there is going to be both an opportunity as well as a pressure on companies to start creating transparent and responsible AI. And to me, a responsible AI is an AI that works with the benefit, measurable benefit of the individual and the society. It has transparency and auditability. It has fairness and it has robustness. It's very easy to hack AI, okay? And it has been proven. Now, when I was on the board of London Stock Exchange, one of the things we used to talk about is, can you create a flash crash in the market by inserting some trades in there that can really mess with the way these algorithms work, right? Or in the automotive industry, what if you move towards an autonomous car driving world, what does it take for a evil actor to walk in the middle of a highway with a painted stop sign and plant the stop sign in the middle of a busy highway? What do you think your autonomous car is going to do? It's going to look at the sign and going to start braking at 80 miles an hour. It's going to start, braking right in the middle of a highway. Or they have shown that a stop sign with, humanly invisible, they can paint 3% of noise on a stop sign, and the car will read it as a yield sign. So there are lots of things that we still have to figure out and to make AI transparent and trustworthy before I believe it's going to be adopted at large. And unfortunately, it's an area where both business and government is severely behind. I mean, this is a technology that is far more lethal and far more powerful than nuclear weapons were. And I've said it in an article last year that right now, humanity playing with AI is like children playing with bombs. And unfortunately, some of them are going to blow up, and that's when regulations are going to come in. And I think that's the next part that I'm getting ready for is, unless the government gets proactive and starts really engaging the industry, we're going to see a lot of AI disasters, if you may. And then new regulations are going to come in. Just like after Hiroshima, unfortunately, we had the Geneva Convention and people came up with mechanisms on how to control nuclear power. I think we will start seeing how to control AI power soon.
This really speaks to part of my background. As you know, accounting is my background. We have generally accepted accounting principles. And exactly. As you were describing this, I was beginning to think about what are the generally accepted AI principles that exactly. we will have to establish and make sure that they are adhered to by everybody.
Yeah.
And who audits that? And you talked about that auditing mechanism as well. One of the fortes of the accounting profession is that we also serve as auditors, as yes. independent auditors of this financial information. And I kind of think about my profession in particular as being able to play a central role in helping think about trusted AI.
Absolutely.
Is, being able to put a stamp of approval or a seal of confidence that here is AI that has been authenticated, or it is, up to whatever standards.
It's been audited. So I've engaged with all the big 4 or big 6, the audit firms right now. So just like there is SOX audit, companies are now being asked to do AI audits. And there are new practices being formed, new law firms that with UT Austin, I've been working with the law school here on a whole new class of legal requirements, the legal case law that they're building on. When an AI causes harm, there is a practice called AI forensics that's starting off now, mm-hmm. saying it's, when there is an AI disaster, how do you go back and investigate to find out exactly what happened so you can pin the blame and fix the system. So this, I think, for our accounting graduates, this is an incredibly attractive and a promising area. And we've always had at Michigan State a phenomenal, presence in the accounting area. And I think this would be the next frontier of, creating sort of future leaders so that we can deploy this very powerful technology in a ethical, auditable, and financially responsible manner. Because the implications of this are massive. On one hand, you can use it to build trust with your customers and innovate better. On the other hand, if you don't, there are severe consequences of financial losses, of regulatory fines, as well as loss of brand trust. If people do not trust your brand, that if they find out that your chatbot is racist, what does it do? How do you know your chatbot is not racist or a misogynist? Today, there is no way for them to, because what you're trying to do here is supplement and in some cases replace an organic human brain with a semiconductor brain. And when you do that, how do you assess the values and the transparency by which that digital brain is making decisions? This is an entire new frontier, and this is something that's going to only grow, both in terms of importance, value, as well as risk in the coming years and decades. We're just at the beginning of it. This is almost like electricity got discovered, and people have lit up a few streets with a few bulbs. And now imagine, living life on planet Earth without electricity. It is going to be that pervasive.
Manoj, I want to come back to the educational connection with AI in a moment, but we have many of our corporate partners and sponsors. These are people who are managing businesses, running business, and all that. One of the questions that is asked at an operational level is really what is the financial implications of the AI, in as much as what does it cost to implement AI? If suppose a manager were interested in saying, okay, fine, I understand the importance of AI. I understand maybe what contributions it can make, and so I just don't know what it will take for me to make that kind of investment. What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think it depends again on one of my suggestions to CEOs and executives has been look at AI in like a bimodal operation. So look at one part of AI should be around how do I drive operational efficiency? So I call it, these are agility initiatives, right? Sorry, these are stability initiatives. I use AI to reduce so much effort and so much time and cost out of a cycle time. And then the second one, which is an agility, which is I'm going to use this to come up with breakthrough new ideas and creativity. But overall, an AI project could cost anywhere from, again, my preference is to start small and start with business value first rather than technology first. Define a business problem and a use case where there is measurable KPIs, key performance indicators, and then put a project that is not longer than 90 days in place. So my 1, 2, 3 to companies is well-defined business problem that has a measurable outcome. Number 2, a project that is not more than 90 days in engagement. Number 3, an area where you have enough data, because data is the fuel, and we can spend a whole session on data and AI itself. Because if you have bad data, you're not going to get anything out from an AI system. So when you put those 3 together, in my experience, I would say an average AI project within those parameters should be somewhere between $100,000 to $300,000 and a 90-day sprint. Because the idea is, I call it educate, nail, and scale. You educate yourself on what this is and what this is not. It's a lot of things that AI is not good for. And I think by doing a pilot, you educate yourself. And then you nail it in one business area, one use case, and then you scale it across. It's like with the web. When the internet came about, I call it the response that most of the businesses had was like dogs watching TV. And you're looking at it like this way and saying, what is this web thing? Then you said, okay, let me apply it in one place. Let me apply it for lead management in marketing. And once they see how HTML pages and hot images and linking of documents work, the procurement person said, you know what, I can use it for procurement. The accounting person said, I can use it for accounting, and so on and so forth. So by doing a tightly defined use case driven approach, you start educating everyone on the art of the possible with AI. And then that's the sort of the educate piece. The activate is when you engage people's creativity and domain knowledge to say, what if we could do this with AI? That's where the excitement is. I've never been more excited about education and future leaders than I am now, because the palette for creativity is massive. AI is the new sort of their canvas.
Speaking about education and AI, one of the things that I want to recognize you with is that you have always been one, you have said, I speak with not only my mouth, but I also am committed to supporting these endeavors. And we are grateful in the Broad College to have the Manoj Saxena endowed professorship in AI, and we'll be announcing the first inaugural holder of this professorship here very soon, before the end of this month. But I'm always interested, whenever I talk to you, is to get your perspective on how do we differentiate the educational offerings? How do we take these ideas around responsible AI and incorporate them, not just in a course in responsible AI, but how does it impact our curriculum in general and the educational experience that our students come out with, such that they are better informed, better prepared to not only perform, but also to succeed and hopefully lead organizations, like you are.
Well, I think that is the question, isn't it? And that is where the opportunity is for MSU to keep building on the leadership position and the phenomenal vision that you have for the school. And I think, to me, there's no doubt that's the next frontier. And this is not new. We've been through this. 25 years ago, when the web came about, everyone became an e-business. And we had to update our curriculum to understand what does e-business mean for marketing, for accounting, for finance, for supply chain. And everything was e-enabled. And now with big data and cloud and machine learning, we are becoming an I-business, an intelligent business. Why is it that for 19 years I've been using Amazon? Why is it that when I order, gloves, it doesn't also suggest for barbecuing, it doesn't suggest, some brisket and some things that I need around the task I'm about to do based that I'm in Austin. So the intelligence of these systems where AI can be used to start engaging. Why is it that if I'm ordering, say, jeans off of Amazon, not that I would, but if I do, it should say, hey, there's an 84% chance you're likely to return this because, the clothes that have similar dimension like this, you have tended to return it in the past. So this whole notion of how my returns process changes, how my selling process changes, how my marketing process. So from a student body perspective, I look at what MSU has a need and a responsibility for doing as in three buckets. Number one, we need to take a very deep industry-oriented view on the industries where we have a strong presence, and obviously the automotive industry is the first one, and start building a point of view as to how would the automotive industry change with i-business, just like it changed with e-business 25 years ago. So that to me is incredibly important from a thought leadership and an action leadership perspective, because you're then calling out areas where the industry is likely to go. Second is that in order to support that, what type of future leaders are we going to require to graduate from us who know not just accounting and finance, but they also know how to work with the people in computer science department and the advertising major and the movie major and the media major. So how do you do this cross university and cross-department collaboration? Because AI is a team sport. You've got to be able to bring together different disciplines to solve these problems. How do I get someone who knows, audio and video, along with cloud and big data and machine learning models, along with business models, and someone with law to make sure that you're not going to get sued if you do this thing. So second part is, I think, really driving this cross-departmental collaboration is something that the university needs to do. And third, I think, is really sort of placing our students in the right internship opportunities with companies that are beginning to, and this is where our alumni network, I think, can be massively helpful, is really get them out there and let them both learn as well as contribute to what MSU is all about.
One of the things that we are doing that is with Cognitive Scale, Jackson Life, and really putting into operation, especially on that third dimension that you talked about. We've also put together an international advisory board over the summer and really reaching to our alumni across the globe and trying to figure out where we can have opportunities for our students that expands their horizon in different ways. I mean, it may not necessarily be AI related, but that same notion of how
I think that is so critical, Sanjay. I think demystifying AI. Today, AI is confused with machine learning. Okay. And I have said many times to CEOs that AI is too important to be left to technologists, right? It is a strategic business capability. It's like saying a car equals a clutch box or a gear. Yes, machine learning is a very important part of a component of an AI system, but there's so many other things that come together. And I think that one of the big opportunities and the need from MSU perspective and all of us is to come up with simple vignettes, demystified in terms of a day in the life of how it used to be before and how is it with AI today. And I think these stories through the broad network to say, how did Susanna, who was a second year MBA student working at Dow, how she transformed this process so that the chemicals are distributed in a more safe manner, right? I think personalizing AI, my mentor is Ginny Rometty, the CEO of IBM. Now she's the chairman of IBM. And she used to always, I remember she used to tell me, she said, Manoj, remember, it is powerful when it's personal. And one of the things we have to do is we have to personalize AI through stories to our alumni, to our students, to the people who come to the campus for hiring. And I would love to work with anyone on your team to be able to give them those stories and vignettes, because I would love to see a series on Spartans will, I'm going off topic here a little bit, on Spartan will, put AI to work for good. And I will give you dozens of experiences where Spartans are going, it's like saying electricity has come out and MSU as an ag college in 1890s is now going to put electricity to work in the agricultural space. It's the same thing here again.
Right. That's phenomenal. That's exciting. By the way, we had Ginny Rometty on the Broad Executive Forum a few years ago now. So it's interesting that you mentioned her name. I know there are lots of questions for you and maybe a couple for me as well. And let me bring in Marcy Stoll now. Marcy, I'll hand it over to you to help us with the questions and direct them as you will.
Yes, thank you. There are a lot of very good questions in here. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Saxena. The first question here is on social justice. So this builds on your earlier comment about algorithmic justice. Can you comment on what you see are emerging issues for business? Does trust as a service need corresponding changes in regulation and self-monitoring systems by companies?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you started with a question, because at the end of the day, it comes down to, if you're a company, it comes down to your brand. It comes down to your brand promise with your customers. And what you're in essence doing, when you get a new hire, you train her into becoming the model employee by putting her through HR processes and corporate values and stuff like that. When you introduce a new AI or when you introduce a new chatbot, how do you train it on your company values and your brand promise? There is no procedure and methods in place today to start embedding into digital brains and digital extensions of human brains these values. So that's one part, is companies, the progressive companies are beginning to understand, okay, how do I make sure, like I said, my chatbot is not racist? So there is that one part. The second part is regulatory pressure is forcing these people to start taking attention. And unfortunately, the way our world works is, it's around money. It's unless you help them either make money or avoid spending money, things don't get done. And this is where I believe our regulators are absolutely inadequate and not prepared to be able to, and our administration hasn't done enough to, you talk about a dirty bomb. This is like a dirty bomb times 1,000 that anyone can assemble through open source code and start creating havoc in the field, and ransomware and stuff that you see. And so I think that second part is regulators need to get more involved and working with industry to start really figuring out what parts is the responsible regulation of it. Normally, I'm not a guy who's for regulation, but in this case, and I'm absolutely on. And third is, I think, one of the things that gives me a lot of hope is this next generation. They are so full of, desire and hope and vision. And part of it is, I think, the stuff that my generation has messed up for them, they know they have to fix, but they really are driven by social justice. They really are driven by wanting to do good for the world. So it's our responsibility as leaders to engage them in projects and programs and not just create theoretical case studies that were built to the factory floor model of 80 years ago. But what is the new digital floor model? How do you engage the creativity and imagination of these young people? And that's where places like, what we do at the Broad School and other universities, in collaboration with the university. I'm telling you, Jackson and Michigan State, the collaboration we're going through, will be the forerunner for so many things we'll be doing as a template for many to come. It's just that we are going at it too slowly. We need to be able to do it much faster. And Sanjay knows how impatient I am about this.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to say something. So,
no, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And in terms of the speed of execution, we really have to get much more agile at the university. We absolutely have to.
The next question is addressing organizational issues. So as you think about the possibility that AI might just perpetuate our human biases, our assumptions, considering the self-assuring business processes, with that in mind, this question is, what kind of organizational changes are necessary for traditional firms to leverage AI beyond just embracing technology?
Yeah, great question. Another great question. In essence, there is a very well-established area in organizations called ERM, Enterprise Risk Management. And there are processes around GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. I think those groups and those functions are going to be required to step up and play more and more of roles. And a lot of our audit heritage comes into play there. So I think we need to evolve. And I keep using the analogy of how did compliance and enterprise risk management evolve when everyone went to the web? When you started selling products on the web, how did GRC and ERM evolve in a company? Same way, when you start automating decisions using these advanced statistical models and machine learning models, those groups are going to get more of an importance. And unfortunately, right now, there are not too many tools and not too many case studies. And that's where there's an opportunity for MSU to step in and start showing the way.
And then Dean Gupta.
Let's just add one more to it. HR is another function that's going to be impacted significantly from this, because AI is going to be used more and more to look through the candidate pipeline, select the candidates, give promotions. And it's been shown, and some of you may have read this, and Amazon shut down their AI system that they were using for HR processing of resumes and applications because of gender discrimination. And not because it did say male or female. That was not that. It was much deeper than that. And what they found is, without even disclosing what the gender was, the AI was discriminating against women. And the reason they found eventually was the tone and the verbs and the adjectives that were used to describe a job of an engineer were written by a man using masculine terms that made the AI believe that people who write their resume with more masculine terms in there are better suited to be engineers, and it started discriminating against women. So there are these very deep, insidious issues on how we represent reality. At the end of the day, these are still dumb machines. They're learning much fast, but how you represent reality to them for them to be able to learn from it is incredibly important. So I think HR is another function that's going to be dramatically transformed and under pressure with AI.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was thinking about the promises and perils, the way that you phrased that earlier. And that's an excellent example of the dangers of not understanding your AI. Dr. Gupta, a question on a similar topic on organizational issues.
Sure.
What are you doing to prepare students for these future organizational challenges? What about the negative social impact of these issues? What do you tell students? How do you encourage them to invest in learning that will protect their futures?
Yeah, so, Manoj talked a lot about the setup, which is around technology and so on, but really these are business issues. And one thing that we are doing in the Broad College is making the study of ethics and integrity integral to our business curriculum. It's not an option any longer. And the way we are doing this is, first and foremost, creating some foundational knowledge around ethics and integrity that goes across and that everybody is standardized to that so that the playing field is level. And then within each discipline, really drilling deeper into what are the ethical issues around, whether it's, let's say it's a marketing student, around customer engagement and customer satisfaction, customer selection, customer service. But that goes in along with what is going on in the world of AI as well, as to how you are going to provide the support services in a business function. The other part, which is kind of behind the scenes, but we are using AI at the university in order to also support student success. So something that we did not, or it was laborious. I mean, it's not that we didn't pay attention to it, but we were not able to do as much and not do it as early. And that is to find out which students are having challenges with what kind of curriculum, and to be able to have an intervention sooner so that they can be successful and they are not held back. They're not wasting an entire semester only to learn that they have been struggling in mastering these concepts upon which later coursework is built. So we are really trying to think about student success in an AI-rich database or data scrubbing, if you call it, or analysis, and that's really beneficial. And the third thing that I would tell you is that we are also using AI-related technologies to help us with large enrollment courses, where it is very difficult, especially in this remote environment, to make sure that the students have a superior teaching and learning experience. How do you make that happen? And so we have started using some AI tools to help us there as well. So just a few applications, but we are very much at this scratching the surface. I think there is a lot more work to be done that can sharpen the takeaways for the students at the end of their program of study.
Much being done. It's very exciting to be a part of that. Manoj, a question for you on the future. Several participants have shared comments about what they can do to accelerate AI adoption in their business environments, such as automotive or healthcare. What do you recommend be done to accelerate the process?
Process of AI adoption by an individual or by a company?
Company.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's actually quite simple. It starts with the leadership. The leadership has to be inspired and aware about AI as a strategic business imperative. And then they need to start putting, and I've said this to multiple CEOs and CIOs, is, break your IT budget into two parts. Like, again, the stability budget and the agility budget. And in the stability budget, maybe it's 60% of your budget, not 90%, like most people do today. Even if it's 90%, apply AI in squeezing some productivity out of those processes. And in the agility budget is where you go after trying and solving problems that are the sort of the tougher problems and the more complex problems. And like I said, the real crisis here is not the crisis of technology, it's the crisis of lack of imagination. This is AI. The companies that will succeed at AI are the companies that will have vision around what this can mean. It'll have the courage to go in and fail at stuff. And they will have the creativity to really figure out how to put this to work. And I think that's where the real opportunity is. And at an individual level and at a corporate level, I think there was a question that Dr. Amura had raised, which is, I think, a brilliant question about AI and jobs. And what it means is for leaders to understand how their workforce is going to change. For leaders to really understand that the most often question I get asked is, okay, will AI replace my job? Okay. And the two things, if I were to look at it, people are worried about the wrong thing. Most people think, when they think about AI, they think either it's going to kill me or it's going to take my job away. Over a period of time, that's probably true, both of those. But the most immediate thing it's doing is it is creating inequality at a faster and faster pace. If you thought economic inequality was bad, wait till AI really starts permeating into businesses. And I have nothing to do with this movie, but if you guys have not seen this movie called The Social Dilemma on Netflix, highly, highly recommend it. That is only showing 1/3 of the problem in that movie, which is around AI and B2C. And when you apply AI, I expect to do a Social Dilemma 2.0 a couple of years from now when AI goes into business. So please look at that movie. But in terms of jobs, the way I look at AI and careers is AI is not going to replace, in a broad level, AI will displace people who know how to use AI versus people who don't know how to use AI. That's the first thing that will happen. It's like when I graduated from Michigan State, I had proudly put that I know DBase4 and I know spreadsheets and I know PowerPoint on my resume. it's a similar way people graduating from board school will be able to say, I have put these problems to work through AI using these models and these data sets. So I think that's one is you will be displaced by people who know AI versus others. The second set will be AI will displace tasks and not entire jobs, because I believe that you still need human supervision. Because a good example, the airlines, every day hundreds of millions of people put their lives at risk in the hands of these two actors sitting in the front with a hat on called a pilot. It's actually the AI that's flying the plane. But those actors are there to be able to pick the plane out of, when it lands in Hudson River, right? So supervised learning and supervised AI, so that will be the second part is jobs are going to be transformed where tasks will be removed and other tasks will be augmented with AI. That's the second step of AI. Third, there will be, I think, a mass disruption in BPO industries. I'm not very bullish on the Indian BPO or the Thailand BPO industries. I think there's going to be a massive amount of, because their whole business model is built on this notion of, I call it UMS for less. I'll take your mess and I'll do it for less. AI can do those things. So the Indian BPO industry or the Ukrainian BPO industry better start reimagining what that means. And there will be a massive job dislocation there. And last part, there will be segments of job that will be replaced. I mean, how many elevator operators do you see now? How many gas attendants do you see now? And in fact, someone gave me a great example. In fact, in this movie, there was a great example that he said, to look at what AI is going to do to jobs, look at what happened to horses in America when the automotives came about. He said before the automobiles came about, there were millions of horses in America, okay? And after that came about, what happened to those horses, right? Because that was the physical power. And guess what? We are the new horses. And AI is the new automotive industry. What is going to happen to us in our roles? And I think it's a combination of three things. One is we better learn this and start becoming the designers and implementers of this, or we're going to be replaced. And we better learn this to start controlling this. Otherwise, it will start controlling and creating unintended consequences at a scale we haven't seen. But over the long term, over 50 years or so, there is no doubt in my mind that AI is going to take away a lot more. This is the biggest issue of our times. It's going to take away way more jobs than the jobs we're doing today. It's already, AI can read a radiology image far better than the best radiologists today. And it'll give you the diagnosis. It happens today. Okay. So I think that is the question probably for the next generation, but definitely that's where we are headed. It is going to create, maybe we'll end up becoming these big blobs on chairs, slurping things through a juice, and that's AI is running our lives. I think it'll be a very dystopian world. But between then and now, there is enough opportunity to put AI to work for good and prevent the unintended consequences, which I hope that the Broad School will take a lead on.
Yeah, and that's, thank you very much for being here today. We're in our last minute of the webinar, and I wanted to just ask Dr. Gupta to share any final thoughts, specifically any advice you would have for that next generation or for those that are developing training now as we finish this webinar today.
Thank you, Marcy. And I want to first and foremost thank you, Manoj, for joining us today and spending an hour with us. It's very thought-provoking. It is very insightful. It is very futuristic. And if there is anything that I'd like to share on top of that is that, for us to continue to remain curious and for us to continue to innovate in our lives in every which way that we might live our lives. I think that's what is going to be the key, and that allows us to embrace movements or developments like AI without feeling afraid and without second guessing as to what is to come, but instead becoming a part and parcel of it and actually driving that towards our own successes. So I hope and I encourage especially our students to join us on this journey, to embrace this, and for us to continue to remain a top-of-mind business school, because we have adopted these movements before everybody's on board already. So this notion around responsible AI, that Manoj talked about, is something that begins at the business school level, and we are committed to making that a strong part of the Broad College's offerings. So thank you again, and we look forward to staying in touch. Good luck to you and Cognitive Scale and the future of AI.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you, Marcy.
Yes, thank you all that watched and participated in this event today. We appreciate you, and you appreciate being a part of this first ever virtual Detroit Executive Forum. Take care.